Alright guys, so we've got a deli mirror here between ZertoN and DFP. After that French mirror on Dry Arabia, we've got a deli mirror here on Altai. ZertoN in the blue trunks. Oh sorry, DFP in the blue trunks. ZertoN in the red trunks. So already a slight difference in the builds, with ZertoN going for Lumber Camp and Mill. DFP going for Mosque to start with, and go for House and Mill. So DFP going to have the advantage of upgrades over ZertoN here. He's going to go for his efficient production as well as wheelbarrow and survival techniques. ZertoN just going for wheelbarrow and forestry for the minute. So Delhi players, the only ones that particularly beeline forestry. All the other civs avoid it like the plague, except for maybe French when fucking around in team games. Like if it's a water map or something. Or maybe Rus under similar circumstances. Otherwise, you're best off waiting till you've already got double broadaxe to even bother with getting it and having a good vil count on the wood line. But Delhi unique in the fact that obviously upgrades free and their train rates limited by how many scholars you've got in Moss, so train rates for DFP for upgrades certainly going to be favoured for him compared to ZertoN. He's eager to just not even worry about the mosque at the moment. Is this some radical way to play Delhi where you just completely ignore their unique mechanics? There we go, so ZertoN adding the mosque now, a little bit later. And he's already slightly further along in his age up. He's, you know, pretty even in terms of the gold, but his food income is above DFP's at the moment. And he is actually slightly up on the wood as well. Like I said, DFP does have that upgrade advantage over him. The first mosque giving you that free scholar, already garrisoned and efficient production on the way. So we've now got Dome of the Faith for ZertoN, and DFP's not going to be too far behind with his. ZertoN really training wood villages. And DFP's actually distance gathering wood for the moment, so I guess this is where DFP does get a little bit punished in terms of eco efficiency for the minute. ZertoN down in score, but that's because DFP hasn't even started his age up. 4 villages for ZertoN building the age up, while DFP distance gathering one last trip before he can get this lumber camp. And he is waiting on that age up anyway. It's going to be slightly slow on the lumber camp there. So I guess that's sort of the problem with that style of build as well, is it's very hard to play it, you know, 100% optimally and get it down to the second where you get the lumber camp exactly as you get 50 resources and don't waste any walk time. Not to say DFP wasted a lot, but even still, 2 villagers doing a round trip is a bit of a hit. So he's going to go for only the... Oh, he's going to have 4 villagers, actually, sorry, just like ZertoN, on the Dome of the Faith, but it'll be a little bit slower. Upgrades going to kick in a bit faster, so piety for him kicking in as ZertoN's getting efficient production. So he's able to go straight for Sanctity as soon as he ages up, while ZertoN's not really going to be able to beeline. Well, actually, he's going to skip piety and go Sanctity. Jewel. And blacksmith now for ZertoN. He'll be able to actually start sneaking up military upgrades slightly quicker than DFP because of this. He's going to have to deal with DFP going for scout harass. So ZertoN, one last round trip with his scouts. He's just gathering a wall of sheep. Does he only have the one scout by the look of things? Looks like ZertoN's only gone for one scout opening here actually. I guess that's the beauty of Delhi, is that you don't really have to worry about going to the second scout and going for the most optimal sheep game. Because really, you actually never really have to come home. You can play a really solid one scout game. There's ZertoN actually going to be a little bit quicker on all these age up upgrades. And he's actually got the second scholar out a little bit faster too. So I guess this is sort of the advantage of this opening over the contemporary one that DFP has been using. Yeah, actually quite a bit of distance gathering for that wood. So ZertoN early spears up against DFP's early spears. On the boar. Attacked by DFP to try and wear out the spears, and it's quite a long distance that it'll follow there. And now another wolf attacking the spears. DFP warming up slightly faster than ZertoN. ZertoN very intimidating, hey? So a range now for ZertoN. And I imagine DFP is probably going to go for a stables in response. So he will. And a double blacksmith for him. ZertoN also on double blacksmith. Second one a little bit slower than the first for both players. It's important just to try and cram them out as quickly as possible just so you can sneak a couple of upgrades. And so control of these sacred sites is going to be quite important. DFP walling in his base. It looks like ZertoN more content to try and wall in the sacred sites and control the two of them. Because once you wall in this front side of a sacred, it is very hard to try and contest it. The opponent's actually got to sneak past your main base. It's pretty much impossible once you wall that off too. And ZertoN, with how his base is laid out, it's going to be pretty much impossible to sneak past without him seeing anyway. So we're just waiting on Sanctity here for ZertoN, while I believe DFP only about a minute away from it as well. Oh, great timing there for ZertoN. So he's going to be able to get two sacred sites early on DFP here. And it'll be a lot of gold trickle for him. He can worry about not having to really ramp up his gold count to actually take castle behind this. DFP pushing forward with the horsemen, but there's a good number of spears here and they're going to be able to focus down the horses to great effect. Or bows going to tear through the spear count by the look of things. Both our players with scholars here, but it looks like ZertoN's going to be able to clean up DFPs for free here. It's a big hit to the hip pocket, so they've got two villages apiece just to make sure they can maintain scholar production through all this. And now that ZertoN, he who holds the gold makes the rules, DFP's going to have to try and snatch up this rear one. And both our players going to look at continuing production through all this, but DFP marginal delay in adding some more production here for him. Now DFP units on queue. But the macro struggling slightly compared to ZertoN's. Now ZertoN with that gold trickle worth 2 relics. He's really able to relish in the fact that he's got the same number of workers on gold as DFP at the moment for replacing his scholars with and adding them to extra production for seals with, but he'll actually start banking the gold he needs to go to Castle Age. While DFP going to have to start gathering with some more villagers on the gold if he wants to get to castle. So he's going to keep trying to pressure Central Sacred. I think ZertoN's got the comp he needs to really take this fight at the moment. Just bearing in mind, ZertoN's had non-stop production. I'm willing to see what his opponent does as he caps this third Sacred. I think it's the idea. He's willing to let the wall go down just to wait and see what DFP does, because this third Sacred's about to go up, and he's even looking to defend it with a couple of spears. Well, DFP has broken through and he can potentially pick this off ZertoN here. But he's patiently manages to focus down all the spears. But his own archer's overextending a little bit, and ZertoN doing well to focus down the archers with his own archer ball. The spears rail one of these horsemen. So it looks like ZertoN's going to contest all three Sacred sites now. He's quick on the walls once again. Some great micro there from ZertoN to get that up in time. And he's now got control of all three Sacred sites. All he really needs to do is wall off this lower passage, and it becomes near impossible for DFP to contest them without just outright, you know, busting through with rams or getting alleys or something. And I think ZertoN can probably look at trying to take the same sort of fight. He's still got that advantageous bow count over DFP at the moment, so it's been rough for him. He's got all these upgrades, like you both our opponents do here today. He's adding another range, and he's even going to add... I mean, he's already got that barracks as well, but he's no longer adding the spears. So he's had to transition to the horseman bow comp, but for the minute, because the bows, because the horsemen haven't really been getting any raiding off, I think it's all been ZertoN's way, and the horsemen can't even stand there and control the Sacred without tons of archer fire. So it's going to be a messy one, and DFP is going to have to try and wear out the spearman count while re-engaging with the horsemen here. So his micro needs to be on point. He's down, restricted ZertoN to only the 3 spears by the looks of things. ZertoN's going to focus all the scholars down. And now all the horsemen are going to follow. He's got tons of his own scholars behind this. So like I said, that gold disparity from controlling these Sacred sites has allowed him to just basically both slam scholars and still bank up a little bit of gold to get his castle age behind this. So DFP still streaming in everything he's got, but ZertoN is doing the same. There's still a couple of loose units for him to come in with. But the horseman count just not really able to break this critical mass of the archers now, and there's a great count of these scholars to keep everything topped up. DFP having to, well, he's having to tap out. GG, ZertoN takes game number 2 in this series.